Hello and welcome back to A Nightmare on Elm Street Iceberg. This is the second part, where I'll be covering more of the layers of the iceberg. Mainly entries about different books of this series franchise. So without further ado, let's get into the third layer. Freddy Krueger's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger's A Nightmare on Elm Street is a comic released in 1989, the series being written by Steve Gerber and only has 2 issues before it was canceled. The comic being focused on Freddy himself and is a different story from the films with its own characters. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare is another comic series based off the film but with its own story, which was released in 1991. And has 3 issues, the artist being Andy Mangels and the editor being Innovation Publishing. The final issues were released in 2D and 3D formats. Nightmares on Elm Street. Nightmares on Elm Street is a comic series released in 1991 to 1992, edited by Andy Mangels and having 3 artists, being Patrick Rollo, Ray Krissing, and Thomas F. O'Connor. The series takes place between the 5th and 6th movie in the series, having returning characters from the film. The first 2 series take place a year after the 5th film, while the other 4 takes place 6 years after the 5th film. A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Beginning. A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Beginning is yet another comic series released also in 1991 to 1992. The comic series is a direct sequel to the 6th movie, following Freddy's daughter Catherine Krueger having nightmares of her father. The series has 3 issues, but the 3rd issue is unpublished and incomplete, since the publishers, Innovation Publishing, declared bankruptcy, though the script for the 3rd comic was available online for a time. A Nightmare on Elm Street Wildstorm comic. A Nightmare on Elm Street Wildstorm comic was an 8-issue comic series made by Wildstorm Productions and written by Chuck Nixon. The artwork done by Kevin J. West, Bob Allman, and Joel Gomez. After getting the license in 2006, they published the series until canceling it in 2007 for a miniseries. Are You Ready for Freddy? Are You Ready for Freddy was actually a song released in 1988 by the rap trio The Fat Boys and was a theme for the 4th movie, parts of it being rapped by Robert Englund himself as Freddy. In the music video, Prince Marky D's Uncle Frederick died, and his lawyer meets the group outside the Elm Street house, telling them that they have to spend the night to earn the inheritance. After the group enters, they get chased around by Freddy, who only stops to actually rap. Dream Warriors Song. Dream Warriors was a song made for the 3rd film by the metal band Dokken and is played in the closing credits, also reaching 22nd in the Hot Mainstream Rock charts in 1987 and also 2015. There's also a music video where in it Freddy is messing with Kristen before the band appears and uses their dream power, which is their music, to repel him. The video ending with Freddy waking up in his bed and asking, "Who were those guys?" This was the end of the 3rd layer, and now on to the 4th. Novelizations. This entry is just talking about how I think only movies 1 to 3 are turned into novels. I'm not sure if it's only 1 to 3 though. Kinda cool that the movies were novelized though. Freddy Krueger's Tales of Terror. Freddy Krueger's Tales of Terror is a 6-part series of A Nightmare on Elm Street novels. The first book being called Blind Date, 2nd being Fatal Games, 3rd being Virtual Terror, 4th being Twice Burned, 5th being Help Wanted, and the 6th and final novel being Deadly Disguise. Black Flame Novels. Black Flame Novels is called that because it's a 5-part novel series by Black Flame Novels, each one being its own story not from the film series. The first novel being called Suffer the Children, 2nd being Dream Spawn, 3rd being Protege, 4th being Perchance to Dream, and 5th and final one being The Dream Dealers. Documentary books. This entry is referring to how there's books of documentaries about the film series. Patricia Arquette was unable to reprise her role as Kristen Parker due to pregnancy. Originally, Patricia Arquette was going to reprise her role as Kristen Parker in the fourth movie, but couldn't due to her being pregnant, so she was casted and played by Tuesday Knight in the fourth movie. Jesse's Lost Journal. Jesse's Lost Journal was a story published and written by Mark Patton and came out in 2012, the first part being an alternative story to the second movie, and the second part following Jesse moving to New York and having his name changed. Freddy also possesses the body of Robert Englund. It was 69 pages. This is the end of the fourth layer and on to the fifth layer. Freddy's Nightmares, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the series. Freddy's Nightmares, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the series is a TV series aired from October 1988 to March 1990. A spin-off from the movie series, each episode having 2 stories and only 8 stories with Freddy as the main bad guy. The series having 2 seasons and 44 episodes, the runtimes of the episodes being 44 minutes to 46 minutes. Every story taking place in Springwood and having a new cast each episode, Freddy being the host of the show. DC Follies. At first, I had no clue what this entry was talking about, but in Season 2, Episode 4 of the TV series DC Follies, Freddy is actually in the episode, making a cameo in the series, where he has his own nightmare. Okay, and this was the end of the fifth layer, an extremely short layer, but onto the sixth layer. Book adaptations of the film series. There's book adaptations of the first 6 films by Bob Italia, published in 1992, but only has the first 6 movies, coming out before the 7th, also having big differences since it's written off the pre-film screenplays and not the movie screenplays. 1989 DOS/C64 video game. There was a game released in 1989 compatible with DOS based off the third film where you can choose your character with different abilities, and exploring Freddy's home in the dream world, having to save your friends is the objective. 5th movie, deleted scenes. In the 5th movie, the graduation scene was originally much longer before being changed. Also, deleted scenes of longer graphic scenes of the death scenes. Dan's scene originally having cables under the skins of his arm and a piece of the bike stabbing his leg. In Greta's scene, Freddy slices a doll open and Greta gets a hole in her stomach, where Freddy then feeds her to death. Mark's kill just being slightly longer. Charlie Sheen interested in playing the character Glenn. Originally, Charlie Sheen wanted to play the role of Nancy's boyfriend, Glenn Lance, but wanted a lot more money than the studio could afford, leading to Johnny Depp getting his first motion movie role as Glenn. And that was the end of the 6th layer, onto the 7th layer. Elm Street, The Making of a Nightmare. I couldn't really find what this was referring to, instead getting results of the previous documentaries I talked about on this iceberg. It's a documentary, I think, but I could not find anything on this, so comment below if you do have any info on this. I Am Nancy. This is a documentary released on July 1st, 2011, following Nancy's actor Heather Langenkamp talking about her role as Nancy, and attending horror conventions, interacting with fans to figure out why Nancy and Freddy are such drawn to characters, also interviewing Robert Englund and Wes Craven about the characters. Nightmares in the Makeup Chair. This is another documentary focusing on the makeup process, released in 2018, documenting how special makeup effects artist Robert Kurtzman applies the makeup effects to Robert Englund. The Making of a Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Masters. This is a documentary released in 1989 showing a behind-the-scenes look on how they made the 4th film of the series. David Warner was originally Freddy. Originally, David Warner was actually going to play Freddy, but dropped out due to scheduling conflicts, leading to Robert Englund getting the role, which must have been some sort of destiny, as I could not imagine the film series never having Robert Englund as Freddy's actor. It's possible Freddy is based off SUNDS. This is a theory that Freddy Krueger is based off SUNDS, sudden unexpected nocturnal death syndrome, a syndrome where adults and adolescents unexpectedly die in their sleep from cardiac arrest, but the cause of the cardiac arrest is unknown. And since Freddy kills you in the dream, and it kills you in real life, you can see the connection in the theory. And that was the end of the 7th layer. On to the 8th. Lost prototype of NES game. The prototype of the NES game has been lost and is considered lost media, only screenshots of the prototype being found. I think it's interesting there's lost media of games of the series, as I'm a big fan of lost media. Peter Jackson's A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Lover. This is a script that never happened, made by Peter Jackson, the plot being Freddy is no longer taken serious by anyone anymore, and after killing a teen, he is a threat again, before being defeated by a parent of a teen. Ultimately, New Line declined the script since it wasn't what they were looking for, which is a shame as it actually looks pretty interesting. Escape from Elm Street. Escape from Elm Street is a Flash game published in February 6, 2003 by author Afro Ninja on the site Newgrounds. Freddy. This is the parody of Freddy in the movie Stan Helsing, released on October 23, 2009, direct-to-video. Being a comedy movie that parodies various horror characters, including Freddy himself. Alice Johnson, originally supposed to be in 6th movie. Yeah, originally Alice Johnson was going to appear in the 6th movie, being killed early on, but it was scrapped, leaving her fate ambiguous. The actor Lisa Wilcox saying she never got a call back to be in the 6th film, but did for footage of her to be in the end credits. Freddy's blades are fishing knives. In the original script of the first movie, Freddy's iconic gloves were going to have fishing knives, instead of the iconic blades they have today. This was the end of the 8th layer, and now on to the final layer. DirecTV Christmas commercial. Yeah, there's this really bizarre commercial where Freddy appears alongside like a bunch of other horror characters, and for some reason also Darth Vader, even giving Jason flowers in the TV Christmas commercial. Freddy Krueger 900 number hotline. There was a number hotline where you could call it and get a dead time story, even being a whole old commercial for it. According to comments, you would call it and hear Freddy's gloves screeching and music playing for a minute before a voice that wasn't even Freddy's apparently would tell a story. This sounds pretty cool, and it does kinda suck that we don't have this cool kind of promotion stuff like this anymore. Mahakal 1994. Apparently this is like an Indian Hindi language horror film ripoff of the original film. Wes Craven wanted Freddy to be a child blank. Yeah, so this being the final entry makes sense, as it's certainly the darkest. But in the original script, Freddy was going to be a child blank, but dropped the idea because of a case that happened around the same time in California about child abuse. But in the remake, it's pretty much confirmed this Freddy was a, And that has been the A Nightmare on Elm Street Iceberg, made by Reddit user u/horrormonster26 in the r/iceberg charts subreddit. This was like my first time making actual serious videos, so I hope it wasn't completely terrible. Of course, if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. Until then, I've been your host, Bubzilla. Bye bye.